Welcome. I'm Dr. Rebecca Toporek at San Francisco State University in the Department of Counseling. I use she and they pronouns, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this information session that's been pre-recorded to assist folks who are considering applying to our graduate programs in counseling. By the time you view this video, you should have explored our website, looking at the academic information, our academic programs, and the admissions information that's held on our website. You'll view this information session video, and then after this video, if you still have questions about our program, you can sign up for one of our 3 fall follow-up Q&A sessions. In those sessions, you will register, and then in the registration, identify the questions that you have that haven't been answered on our website or in this information video. During those follow-up FAQ sessions, I will be answering as many of those questions as I possibly can. Today, I would like to start by giving you an overview of the program, as well as the admissions process. These slides are going to be shown throughout this session, but are also going to be posted under this video on our admissions information webpage on the department website. Those slides will also contain alternate text for every image that we have on the slides. Throughout the session, I will also try to describe at least briefly the images that are on each slide so that our slides will be more accessible for all of our viewers. On this slide, you see 13 people sitting next to each other, smiling. They're on a big log outside of one of our buildings at San Francisco State University. There are trees in the background and white buildings in the background that from the San Francisco State campus. These people sitting on the log are alumni from our program, and this photo was taken when they were student leaders in our program. You see shades of skin color, clothing, hair, length, all kinds of diversity, and these students represent some of the best of what we have in the program. You'll also see at the top of the slide a gold and purple seal, which is the official seal of San Francisco State University. I've placed that seal on each slide as we go through to help viewers note that you're looking at San Francisco State University, and that's who we are. Again, we're excited that you can join us. I'd like to give you a brief overview of what this information session will entail. Again, I'm Dr. Rebecca Toporek. I'm department chair in the Department of Counseling at San Francisco State University. I use she and they pronouns, and I've been in the department for 18 years now, so I have a lot to say and a lot of love for this program. In this session, I'll be talking about our program, giving you an overview, talk about our mission, our aspirations, talk about our programs, courses, internships, our specializations, and the admissions process. Again, if you have questions after this session that have not been answered on the website or in this session, please register for one of the follow-up Q&A sessions. Before we go too far, I would like to acknowledge that San Francisco State University is located on the occupied Ohlone-Ramaytush territories, and we humbly acknowledge that our opportunity to live and work in what is now called the San Francisco Bay Area is only possible by the sacrifice of many Indigenous people historically, as well as their contributions today. We also acknowledge that we benefit from the many Black and Brown communities who have worked, often in unjust circumstances, to make the public university system possible in California, as well as the US as a whole. You also see on the slide the image of the Native American mural that is posted outside the Cesar Chavez building on the campus of San Francisco State. Around the Cesar Chavez Student Center are many community murals, and this one is done in acknowledgement and recognition of the Indigenous communities that have contributed to San Francisco State, as well as the Bay Area. This mural is entitled, "We Are Still Here," and it's written in large red letters at the bottom of the mural. The mural depicts two people with fists raised, smiling, two children also, traditional items such as woven basket of acorns, abalone shell with sage, a graduate holding a diploma, leaping salmon, redwood trees, a bulldozer taking down the trees, the great black brown bear, Indigenous community in celebration, a condor, an eagle flying above, and then other animals that are sacred on the left, the wolf, hawk, hummingbird, and the raven. About us, about our mission. On this slide is a photo of our dean, Dr. Alvarez, in white regalia, bestowing honors on our graduates. One of graduate from a different department, the other from our department several years ago. We're very proud of our graduates. Our mission is to train the next generation of counselor leaders who recognize that the liberation of all communities is only possible when an intersectional, participatory, community-driven approach to counseling is practiced. Our training program is grounded in the belief that counseling as a field of practice affords professionals the knowledge and skills needed to carry out social justice work via strength-based healing and wellness, advocacy, critical consciousness development, and action-oriented scholarship and research. Now, our department is composed of 6 different specializations. We have at the graduate level, career counseling specialization, clinical mental health counseling specialization, college counseling specialization, gerontological counseling specialization, marriage and family therapy, or on our university is called marriage, family, and child counseling. And we have a school counseling specialization. When you apply to our program, you must choose one of these 6 specializations. You may also choose an additional one for an emphasis to have additional expertise. Now, those 6 specializations are broken down into 3 degrees. The Master of Science in Counseling contains the career counseling specialization, the college counseling specialization, gerontological counseling specialization, and school counseling. The second degree we offer is the Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. And the third degree we offer is the Master of Science in Counseling Concentration, Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling. I'd like to talk about each of those specializations by walking you through the professional paths and careers of our graduates for each specialization. The image that's pictured here is one of my very favorite photos, and it's of our graduation celebration a couple of years ago, celebrating our graduates sitting there in their regalia with their gold hoods and their purple gowns, their caps, and all kinds of purple, gold, and white. So for the career counseling specialization that falls in the MS degree, MS in counseling degree, and students who choose career counseling as a specialization, when they graduate, often practice as career practitioners. These take place in college and university career centers, employment agencies, nonprofit organizations, and in private practice. Students who graduate from career counseling specialization who also want to follow a licensure path in the program will choose a CMHC emphasis. So they would have career counseling specialization with a CMHC emphasis. Once they graduate, they would complete post-degree supervised hours and licensure exams. And that takes them to the LPCC license. As LPCC licensed career counseling professionals, They may work with holistic career counseling that includes mental health counseling. They may work in college and university career centers, also mental health centers in higher education, employment agencies, nonprofits, private practice, and in schools. So again, for career counseling specialization students, they may choose to pursue the LPCC license or not pursue the LPCC license and go directly into practice as career practitioners. Similarly, for the college counseling specialization, that falls again in the MS in counseling degree, and they may choose either to go upon graduation directly into the field as college counselors and work in community colleges and universities as counselors, as advisors, as student retention specialists, for example, in programs such as EOPS. They may work as student affairs professionals in other capacities, as instructors, as student resource centers, and as administrators. Students in the college counseling specialization who would eventually like to pursue their LPCC license should also have a CMHC emphasis while they're in the program. They would graduate with the college counseling specialization and CMHC emphasis, and then post-degree complete supervised hours and the licensure exams. Upon completing and receiving their license, then they will work as doing holistic college counseling in colleges and universities, including mental health counseling, college and university mental health and wellness, psychological service, nonprofits, private practice. They can work in any of the roles that college counseling folks work in, and they tend to work more related to mental health counseling, although that's not necessary. Again, college counseling students can either, when they graduate, go directly into the field or pursue the licensure path. Gerontological counseling specialization also falls in the MS in counseling degree. They also may choose to go directly into the field after graduation, or if they want to pursue license, when they're in the program, they would choose a CMHC emphasis. Once they graduate in the LPCC licensure path, they would complete the post-degree supervised hours and licensure exam. And then in the field, work with elders, nonprofits, in nonprofits, community mental health, healthcare settings, often under the supervision of a licensed provider while they're pursuing their licensed hours. Once they receive the license, they would be functioning as a fully licensed professional. If they go directly from the program into the field as gerontological counselors without getting the license, they would work with elders in nonprofits, community mental health, healthcare settings, and in that case would be working often under the supervision of a licensed practitioner, particularly if they are working in some aspect related to mental health. The school counseling specialization also falls as an MS in counseling degree. And in the school counseling specialization, graduates in that specialization are eligible for the PPS credential. With the PPS credential, post-graduation, school counselors work in K-12 settings in public, private, and charter schools. They may work as school counselors and administrators in districts around the Bay Area. School counseling students who wish to pursue the LPCC license when they graduate, while they're in the program, would choose the CMHC emphasis. So they would have a combination of school counseling specialization and the CMHC emphasis. When they graduate, they would be eligible for the PPS credential and then would also complete post-degree supervised hours for the LPCC and take the LPCC licensure exams. Students who choose the clinical mental health counseling specialization would be in the degree MS in clinical mental health counseling. In that specialization, they may also choose to have an emphasis in an additional area, career counseling, college counseling, or gerontological counseling emphasis. Once clinical mental health counseling students graduate from the program, They complete post-degree supervised hours and licensure exams. Once they're out in the field as licensed or as associates while working on their supervised hours, they tend to work in community mental health, private practice, healthcare settings, and integrative behavioral health. The Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling Specialization students, that's known as our MFCC program, and often is also referred to as MFT. That is a specific degree, MS in counseling with concentration in marriage, family, and child counseling. Students who are in the Marriage, Family, and Child Counseling Specialization will either go one path, which is directly toward the Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, LMFT. To do that, once they graduate, they would complete post-degree supervised hours and licensure exams. If they also wish to pursue an LPCC license, in addition to the LMFT license, while they're in the program, the Marriage and Family Child Counseling Specialization students would also choose a CMHC emphasis. Once they graduate, they would complete post-degree supervised hours and licensure exams for the LPCC license. Many of the hours that are required post-degree for the LMFT can also be used for the LPCC license. And the faculty in our department are important resources for students who wish to decide which path or both paths they may want to take. The MFCC students may also choose an emphasis in career counseling, college counseling, again, it's CMHC counseling. Because there are many folks who have questions about licenses, credentials, and certifications and how those relate to our program, I'd like to give you a brief overview. Within the state of California, our program prepares students for 3 licensure credentials. Prepares students for the Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, LMFT, the Licensed Professional Clinical Counselor, LPCC, and the Pupil Personnel Services Credential, PPS. We also have national certifications. So graduates from our program can apply to be a National Certified Counselor, a Certified Career Counselor if they specialized or emphasis in career counseling, Certified Mental Health Counselor, or a Certified Rehabilitation Counselor. These last 2 are specific to the CMHC program. The requirements for licensure and credentials include a license in Professional Clinical Counseling, LPCC, and the requirements for that are a master's degree in counseling with clinical counseling training. In our program, that is a specialization or emphasis in CMHC. In addition, post-graduation, there is a total of 3,000 hours of supervised experience after completing the master's program. In addition, there are licensure exams that are taken after the degree and after the required supervised hours are completed. For the Licensed Marriage and Family Therapy, LMFT, that requires a master's degree in MFC or MFT. It also requires a total of 3,000 hours of supervised experience. Some of those hours can be completed in the program as a part of the master's program. However, the majority of those hours must be completed post-degree. This also requires licensure exams after the required post-degree hours are completed. For the license in Professional Clinical Counseling and the license in Marriage and Family Therapy, once students graduate from the program, they would apply for what's called associate status before beginning to accrue their post-degree supervised experience. Our program and our faculty facilitate graduates in that process. Finally, the Pupil Personnel Services Credential, PPS, requires a master's degree in school counseling, state-mandated forms and health clearances, and successful passing score on the CBEST. Our accreditation. What you see next to the title up there for our accreditation is the CACREP accreditation logo. Also, the WASC accreditation logo, Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and the CTC, the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing logo. The Western Association of Schools and Colleges accreditation is granted to the entire university at San Francisco State University. The Council for the Accreditation of Counselor and Related Education Programs is specific to counselor education, and it is the largest and longest standing accrediting body for the profession of counseling in the United States. We have been accredited by CACREP for decades and proudly continue that accreditation. Our school counseling program is also accredited by the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Our faculty. What you see next to the title there are photos of all of our full-time faculty in the Department of Counseling. You see an array of smiling faces, different colored hair, different skin colors, and different lengths of hair. We have 9 full-time faculty and more than 15 adjunct faculty. Our faculty are committed to student success and developing effective and competent counselors. We are practicing counselors and therapists, researchers, and writers. Many of us are engaged internationally and nationally as scholars and professional leaders. You can take a look at our website for bios and photos for all of our faculty. With our adjunct faculty and lecturer faculty, we're constantly updating our website. So if you don't see the names that you are familiar with, and just keep checking back with the website. Our expectations of ourselves as faculty and as a department include engaging in ongoing research, writing, and community work that is relevant to our mission statement and values. We seek to continuously improve and update our teaching skill and our approach. We advocate for the counseling programs nationally and at the university level. We strive to stay current in the field, to advocate for social justice in the community and nationally. And we're dedicated to examining our program and ourselves to strengthen an anti-racism and anti-oppression approach to counselor education and the success of our students. I will say that is an ongoing process, and like many programs and society in general, it is something that we need to continue working on and always improving. So being a student in the program, what you see pictured under this title are several photos of different groups of our students. The top one, many smiling faces. This happens to be at a community event at Skyline College called Rock the School Bells. Many of our alumni, as you can see, are involved there. There's probably close to 30 people shown in that picture with smiling faces, all kinds of hair color, hair length, skin color. And just below that is a photo of our students who were participating in Project Homeless Connect on that day, where we were volunteering to assist folks who were gaining resources for home stability, food stability, and other kinds of resources. And then under that photo, you'll see there are a photo of 5 different students who were participating in a research presentation. So as a student in the program, I'd like to talk a little bit about what the course load is, the internships, time to graduation, opportunities in the program for community building, resources, and our expectations for professionalism as a professional training program. So first, courses and load. What does it look like to be in the program? Our program requires a minimum of 60 units of graduate coursework for the degree. Within that 60 units, you would take core classes, specialization and emphasis classes, and internship classes. We are primarily a fall and spring program. We usually have 1 to 2 courses offered during the summer, but the majority of classes that you will take will be fall and spring. We are fall start only. In other words, When you apply to the program, you will be applying for the following fall. All of our classes meet 3 hours one time per week, Monday through Thursday. Our semester is 15 to 16 weeks long. The classes are offered throughout the day, so some classes are from 9 a.m. to noon, some from 1 to 4, some from 4 to 7, and some from 7 to 10. Some courses may be offered only during the day, some only at night, and almost all classes require in-person participation. Now, this, of course, is affected by health concerns and considerations. For example, during COVID-19, we had to go remote and all of our courses were offered remote. We are generally not an online program, however. So where possible and beginning, we expect beginning in spring of 2022, this coming spring, we will be back to all in-person courses. Again, we follow Department of Public Health's recommendations. And so if at any time the university or the best interest of the health and safety of our students requires that we go remote, that's what we do. It is important that students plan that while they're in the program, they may need to take classes both in day and evening. We work our best to develop schedules that work for students, but it is important to know that classes are throughout the day and evening. Students can, however, attend the program either part-time or full-time. Students who go full-time will complete the courses within 2 years if they're doing a specialization only, and I will provide more detail about that in a minute. Many of our students go to school part-time, whether because of family obligations, work obligations, or learning style. And that's a choice that's made between the student and their faculty advisor. So people often ask, how long does it take to graduate? So I'll go through this table just a little bit and let you know that if you have a specialization only and you take classes full-time, which is a minimum of 15 units each semester, you would likely graduate in 2 years. If you have a specialization only and you go to school part-time, that's typically 3 years or more, depending on how many units you take per semester. If you choose a specialization and an emphasis and go to school full-time, most likely it will take you 2 to 3 years or more to complete your degree. It depends on which specialization and emphasis, as some combinations require a minimum of 3 internships. If you're doing a specialization and an emphasis and going to school part-time, that will likely take 3 or more years, depending on which specialization and emphasis you choose. I also want to say that some students in the application process are determined to require more assistance with their writing. And if that's the case, if you are admitted to the program and we determine that you need additional writing skill and training, then you would be required to take HSS 700, which is a writing course that you would take in the first fall semester. So that would add 1 additional course to the program. I'll talk a little bit more about HSS 700 in a few minutes. Internships. What you see next to internships is a map of the Bay Area. And that represents that we have internships all around the Bay Area. We have more than 200 approved internship sites, and the internship provides training at a master's level in counseling skills. There is a minimum of 2 years of internship required for your specialization, and those 2 internships must be done in 2 different sites. The first year internship requires 12 to 16 hours per week on site. The second year internship requires 16 to 20 hours per week on site. The internships are weekday daytime hours for the most part, and in your internship, you will be supervised by a professional counselor. For school counseling and MFT counseling, that supervisor also would have either the necessary license or credential, PPS credential. Internships must be pre-approved by the department, and there's a process that the internship site needs to pursue in communication directly with us if they wish to seek approval. We do not recommend that students pursue developing internships on their own. And there are also some restrictions we have in terms of students doing internship at their work setting. That is not something that we generally approve. And the only way that that does get approved is if the individual student is doing their internship in a different department with a different supervisor, doing different kind of work than their paid job. If you have questions about internship, we have a field work coordinator, and we also have additional information that we'll provide later. While students are in internship, they're also enrolled in practicum or internship courses concurrently. And those are courses that are on-site, taught on-site at the university, taught by our faculty. And that is both to support you and also help you develop counseling skills that you'll use in your internship setting. That instructor also is a liaison to your supervisor in the field. So I'd like to talk now about opportunities for community building within the program. And on the left side of the slide, you see the 5 brilliant faces of some of our former students, looking down, smiling at the camera. Some of the ways that we build community and relationships within the program are developing relationships with your faculty advisors. Now, undergraduate and graduate programs are slightly different in many ways. And one of the ways that I'd like to talk about is that we expect students and faculty to develop ongoing relationships. And this often blossoms into very long-term post-graduation mentorship and collegial relationships. While you're in the program, we expect that you would stay in touch with your faculty advisor and your faculty to help them understand your situation, to ask questions, to receive guidance about your path and about how to best move through the programs effectively. In addition to those relationships, students will develop relationships with other students in their cohort and their specialization. And those relationships are developed through the internship classes as well as the specialization classes. We also have 2 formal organizations within the department. One is the Counseling Student Association, and that is a student-run organization related to the associated students at San Francisco State University. Any student in the program is welcome to join that organization. And they do community building events. They assess what students need and want and try to develop activities, programs, and advocacy for students. Chi Sigma Iota is our International Honors Society. And students in the program who've achieved the minimum GPA and also involved in service are eligible for Chi Sigma Iota. Again, that's an International Honors Society, and we're very proud to have that as an option for students. Just a quick overview of just a few resources on campus: Disability Programs and Resource Center, DPRC. Our Equity Center with many multicultural community building organizations. Graduate Studies has a tremendous amount of information on their website, both in terms of funding your education, as well as housing, as well as other resources. Counseling and Psychological Services is another important resource on campus, both because as a student at San Francisco State, you would be eligible for receiving services through CAPS. In addition, we partner with Counseling and Psychological Services for the Peggy Smith Clinic on campus. The Peggy Smith Clinic is a training clinic whereby a group of students each year do their internship at the Peggy Smith Clinic and offer mental health counseling to San Francisco State students under the supervision of Counseling and Psychological Services staff. In addition, all of our students during their first year internship will train in the Peggy Smith Clinic facilities for their mock counseling. Now, mock counseling Students are developing their counseling skills, practicing with a partner in their class, and they'll do that for the entire first semester of their practicum course. So what is it like to be in a professional training program with professionalism expectations? We expect students to have a commitment to multicultural and social justice values. We expect students to be accountable, participate, and have regular attendance in their classes and maintain communication with their faculty if there are concerns that arise. We expect collegial student behavior. We expect, again, that students will maintain communication with their advisor and their instructors, that they'll look ahead to ensure that they're taking a reasonable load and balance the responsibilities that they have, and reaching out to advisor and instructor when they see problems coming up. To come prepared for class, to seek help when needed, and also we have a final capstone project, the Culminating Experience Project, which is sort of like a thesis and an opportunity for students to really showcase their work, their expertise that they've developed through the program. That experience project is done in the last semester of the second year internship. So let's shift to talk about admissions. So we have a holistic admissions criteria, and the image that you have before you is of each of, let's see, 7 different areas that we take a look at in the application. And those 7 different areas all come together as a global rating of the application. In the application, you're required to submit a personal essay, and you must be the sole author of that personal essay. That gives us a chance to get to know a little bit about who you are and why you're applying to our program. We also look at your previous academic success, and the university requires an undergraduate GPA of at least 3.0 in your last 60 units. We also look at your other educational experiences, your letters of recommendation from academic and professional sources, your counseling related work or volunteer experience, and other non-counseling related work or volunteer experience. We consider your skills, knowledge, and experience related to diversity, and typically we hope to see evidence of that through your personal essay, through your educational experiences, through your letters of recommendation, and through your work or volunteer experience. We do not require prerequisites prior to the program. We don't require that students had a specific undergraduate major, but we do recommend certain courses. We feel like it's helpful for students entering the program to have had undergraduate courses in theories of personality, in developmental psychology, abnormal psychology, ethnic studies or multicultural relations. And we also have an undergraduate course, Counseling 690, which is an overview of the field of counseling. And we believe that that gives undergraduate students an understanding of what the field is about. Now, about the application, Cal State Apply online application is the only way to apply to our graduate program. When you begin that application, what you'll see is first a lot of questions asking for personal information. That is actually a part of the Chancellor's section of the Cal State Apply application. And I'll give you a heads up, that's a rather long section, and it's going to ask fairly personal information about your identity, your income and financial status, those kinds of things. We do not look at that information. That's not something that's given to us. Instead, what we look at is your academic history, the supplementary program materials such as a resume, your personal statement, official transcripts, your experience summary, both the counseling experience and the other experience summaries, and your letters of recommendation. The deadline for applications is January 15th, and that application will be for entering the following fall. Again, we do not admit students for the spring semester. The online application will be available on October 1st, and you can find that on our website. For letters of recommendation, you will want to choose your recommenders ahead of time, talk with them ahead of time, and find an academic source, such as a professor or an instructor, and or a professional source, a work supervisor, for example. Once you choose them and you log into CalApply, you would indicate their name and their contact information, and then CalApply will email your recommenders. Your recommenders will upload their letters directly into CalApply, and the system, CalApply, will notify you when your recommender submits their letter. Letters may only be submitted through CalApply. Hard copies of letters will not be accepted. When you submit your Cal State Apply application, there's also a $25 processing fee for the department. And the information about submitting that fee online will be available on our website. Cal State Apply also requires its own fee, which is, I think, somewhere around $70. And there's information on CalApply about that fee as well. After we do the first round of review of applications, some specializations will select a few applicants for an interview before making a final admission decision. Other specializations will make the final admission decision based solely on the application. As I mentioned earlier, we are required to do a pre-admission writing assessment. And the way that we do this is that we no longer use the GRE. So the GRE is not required for application to our program. Instead, what we've chosen to do is that we will base the writing assessment on the personal statement submitted in the application. You are required, when you submit your application and your personal statement, you're required to sign an affidavit that you are the original author of your personal statement. And we need that so that we know you are actually the person who wrote the self-statement and that it is an accurate assessment of your writing. That writing assessment takes place only if you are going to be offered admission to the program. Again, if we determine that you will need additional writing skill, we will require that you take HSS 700, which is a graduate writing course. Now, you may also choose to take that course, even if we don't require it, but that you feel like you would like to improve your writing in order to meet the graduate writing standards. We're coming to the close of this information session, and I'd like to suggest again that you visit our website, that you always check instructions on the online application for answers. If the answer is not on the website or in this information session or at the FAQ follow-up session, you may email questions to council@sfsu.edu. Again, our website is at https://counseling.sfsu.edu. You see again the photo of our beautiful students facing down with the camera, smiling. And again, we're so proud. We're so pleased that you're considering our program. We understand it's a difficult choice. It's an extensive application process. We have many, many more students who apply every year than we can possibly admit. So it is a very competitive program, but we're pleased that you're considering us. We look forward to meeting you and seeing your application later. Take care.